Hello, YouTube divers. This is Water Eye 122, and I want to welcome you all to another episode of Doing It the Western Way. Yes, we're bringing back this series after, goodness gracious, I believe 2 years since the last episode. Um, so, unfortunately, this is going to be a pretty sad episode of Doing It the Western Way. Why, you may ask? Because we are talking about a Western Carolina game that, unfortunately, the Cats could not win. And for any Western Carolina fans who are out there watching, you know what I'm talking about. We are talking about the game. We're talking about the football game that happened as of this recording, as of the time of this video's recording, yesterday. The homecoming loss against the Mercer Bears. So this game requires a lot of context here, and I'm going to try my best to sum it up as best as I can. So coming into this game, the Mercer Bears were 7-1, and Western Carolina was 6-3. However, both teams were riding off of huge winning streaks, and both teams, this is an important one, they were both undefeated in Southern Conference play. Western Carolina started off the season 0-3, and that was mainly due because their starting quarterback, Teron Dickens, did not play the first three games for reasons that I will not be getting into in this video because we simply just don't have the time to discuss it. And then Mercer started off the season 0-1 with a Week 1 loss against the Presbyterian College. Which, in hindsight, is just absolutely unbelievable that they lost that game, but neither here nor there. But anyway, so Western Carolina, after that 0-3 start, they had won 6 straight games, and Mercer, after that 0-1 start, had won 7 straight games. So this game was huge, and these were the two best teams in the Southern Conference. Both were undefeated in conference play, and whoever won would get sole possession of first place in the Southern Conference. And for Mercer in particular, this was a huge game for the Bears because with a win, it would clinch the automatic bid for the Southern Conference for Mercer. But if Western Carolina won this game, they would be in first place in the Southern Conference, and they would have to win one more game in order to totally lock up the conference in itself and earn a first round bye in the FCS playoffs, or in other words, get the automatic bid into the playoffs, which is something that Western Carolina has not done since 1983, and every single year since head coach Kerwin Bell has been here, or at least since the 2023 season, Western Carolina has been in contention to break that drought. But, in typical Western fashion, or the Western way, perhaps, they have not been able to do that. At least one thing or one game or whatever has gone wrong, and it's prevented Western Carolina from making the playoffs. In 2023, it was the season finale loss to the Virginia Military Institute Cadets. In 2024, last year, it was the home opener loss to the Campbell Camels, where quarterback Cole Gonzalez threw 4 interceptions in a 24-16 defeat. This season, though, it was not destined for Western Carolina to succeed. They lost their opening game against Gardner-Webb in a game where they blew a 28-point lead in a 52-45 loss at home. And throughout the next two games, Western just did not look like a good football team. To be fair, though, again, that was when Teron Dickens was out. When Dickens came back in Week 4 against Samford, things started to change. The offense looked more efficient, and the defense, while still not being the greatest unit, to put it as nicely as I possibly can, was improving. And it all came together in a 52-7 blowout win against the Furman Paladins, where both sides of the ball dominated the game from start to finish. And we really saw a glimpse of what this Western Carolina football team was capable of doing. Now, all that out of the way, and the fact that Mercer had been dominating ever since their week one home loss to Presbyterian, led by freshman quarterback Braden Atkinson, who was one of the best quarterbacks in the SoCon, and a great defense and a great offense as well. Mercer has a really good team. They're the defending champions in the SoCon, and yeah, so that's all the context we need for this game. This was one of the greatest Western Carolina football games I have ever watched. Right up there with the Western Carolina and Chattanooga game from 2023, which I made a whole separate video on. But unlike that Chattanooga game from 2 years ago, this game was different because Western Carolina unfortunately lost this game to the Mercer Bears in a 49-47 final score. And this game was just absolute bananas from start to finish. First of all, it was homecoming at Western Carolina, so we had hundreds of alumni and older fans come in to the game. It was a sold-out stadium. It was the third largest home crowd in E.J. Whitmire Stadium history, which is just absolutely bananas to think about. So going back to 74 when the stadium first opened, this is the third largest crowd E.J. Whitmire Stadium has ever seen, which is absolutely unbelievable. And that place was rocking. Shout out to all the Western Carolina University fans that stuck around. Yes, they stuck around for more than 2 quarters. Yeah, doing their best to cheer on the Cats. It was loud. It was rambunctious. It was fired up. It was hyped. It was crazy. And Western Carolina's football team in particular, they played pretty darn well. Teron Dickens went 33 of 49 for 551 yards and 7 touchdown passes. I am not joking with you, people. 7 touchdown passes from Mr. Teron Dickens, who's been on an absolute tear ever since coming back onto the football team in week 4. He has just been one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He's far and away the best quarterback in the SoCon and far and away one of the best quarterbacks in all of FCS. And he played a really good game. He did have 1 interception, which was pretty bad, and he did fumble once. But outside of those 2 turnovers and the fact that he got sacked 3 times because he was holding on to the ball for way too long, he played a pretty good game. And he led us through 3 different double-digit comebacks. There would always be these instances in the second half, particularly in the third and fourth quarters, in the fourth quarter, where Mercer would be up by 12 points, seemingly no hope at all. The defense wasn't getting any stops. They were not good in this game, mind you. But then the offense comes back and we score. Like we trade blows, and then the defense finally gets a stop. The offense marches down the field. We take the lead 47-46. Mercer then comes back off of a stupid kick out of bounds by the special teams unit, which gives the Bears good field position. They get the ball at around midfield, and they drive down. They kick the field goal. They're up 49-47 with a minute and a half remaining. And very early throughout the drive, it looked like Mercer had made a mistake because the offense was able to drive down the field, and they set up a game-winning 33-yard field goal attempt. Now, this is one of the most controversial points of the game because before the initial kick, Mercer had called a timeout. And many Western Carolina fans will tell you that Mercer was out of timeouts. They had an extra timeout, and they were not allowed to use it. However, I might have a potential explanation about this. Earlier on that drive, Western Carolina receiver Dominic Dutton caught a pass for about 14 to 15 yards for a first down, but the play was reviewed. My theory is that Mercer's coach challenged the play, and the officials reviewed it, and they overturned the initial call, the initial ruling, which saved Mercer a timeout, and they just did not update the scoreboard on how many timeouts each team had. That's my theory. I'm not exactly sure that was the real explanation, but it's one nonetheless. Regardless, Mercer used a timeout. They iced the kicker. And then on the next kick, poor guy, our kicker misses it wide right, and it was barely tipped to the line, just enough to send the ball off course. Western Carolina misses the kick, and Mercer wins the game 49-47. Mercer gets the automatic bid in the SoCon, and Western Carolina falls to 6-4, while Mercer goes to 8-1. Now, let me just say this to the Mercer football players: you were absolutely classless. Throwing a bunch of racist and homophobic slurs towards the marching band and our fans, screw you for that. I will just say that right there. Yes, we were heckling. And yes, we weren't the nicest people. But that did not have to go all the way to throwing racist and homophobic slurs. I will just tell you that. For context, the marching band, which I'm a part of here at Western, mind you, we've been getting complaints from other teams about heckling, which is something traditionally that we've done every single season. We try to keep it lighthearted. We try to keep it fun. But they complained to the SoCon about it. And then all of a sudden, when these football players are throwing water at us, spitting at us, and throwing racist and homophobic slurs our way, they don't get punished. Hypocrisy level is just insane. But that rant aside, Mercer's players were just absolutely classless at the end of the game. Absolutely classless. And yes, I hate those guys. So, yeah, screw you, Mercer, for that. But congrats on the win. I will say, congrats on the win. You won. You won the game. Congratulations. Yeah, so that really ticked off a lot of fans in here, to the point where our fans were booing Mercer and their players. They were chanting, "Get off the field," because the marching band at Western, because Pride of the Mountains had to play our post-game show, and Mercer would not get off the field. And I know it was for trophy presentation purposes, and that's common when a visiting team wins a conference title at the home team stadium. I get it. But was it really necessary? Was it really necessary? Like, generally, just get the presentation over with and get. Yeah, that. Just screw Mercer for that. Screw Mercer for being a bunch of racist and homophobic pieces of crap. Just without a doubt. Like, congrats, you won. Congrats. Anyway, outside of that atrocity, this was one of the greatest games I had ever watched. The only difference is that we lost this game. So now I can safely say I've seen two great games that are both on the good side and on the bad side of the coin, so to speak. But does this change my opinions on Western Carolina football? No. I still think this is a pretty good football team. The offense is elite. Teron Dickens, still one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I don't care about that interception. I don't care about those sacks, and I don't care about that fumble. The fact that he threw 7 touchdown passes and gave us multiple opportunities to get back into the game and try to win it just goes to show you just how much he's grown as a quarterback. But the defense was atrocious. Every time we had Mercer right on their ropes, the defense just lets up a big play. That 70-yard touchdown that Braden Atkinson threw late in the fourth quarter was just inexcusable. The defense, I've been saying this all year, not on the internet, obviously, but the defense has to be better than this. They have to be better than this. And, that's what plagued us in the Gardner-Webb loss, the Elon loss in week 3, and so many more that I can't even describe. It's only been sugar-coated because now Western has been winning all these games. But now that we've lost, it's a huge problem. And the kicking situation, God bless that kicker. He's a freshman, and he's, that was a big moment for him, and he failed to deliver, even after the ice even after the icing call, so to speak, that happened in the game. I'm sorry, but you cannot miss a 33-yard field goal. You are getting paid to kick the ball through the freaking uprights. You're a Division I college football kicker. You have to make that kick. I know the stakes were high, but Jesus. Other than that, I am really sorry to this kicker. I am. You know, I can't imagine just being a Division I college football kicker and just not making a field goal that you, in theory, should have made. And if you made the field goal, you would have won the game. Plain and simple. But I do feel bad for the guy. I do, because I know he's going to be the most hated guy on campus after this game because of that missed kick. And, you know, I really hope that he doesn't get ridiculed on too much, because he was not the only reason why we lost this game. He wasn't. If you watched the game, you would know. But, yeah, this was a very tough loss for Western Carolina in front of all of those fans who paid a lot of money to come and see the game, to come see the team, cheer them on for a victory. It was just really, really sad. And it's just how we do things at Western Carolina. They did it the Western way, or lack thereof, so to speak. But yeah, congratulations to Mercer. But screw your football team for what they did after the game. But we're gonna move past that. Congrats to Mercer for the win. Congrats on them winning the conference for the second straight year in a row. And for Western, let's just hope we can make the playoffs. So with that said, that concludes another episode of Doing It the Western Way. Thank you so much for watching, my fellow YouTube divers. This is Water 122 signing out, ready to dive into more fun on YouTube. Thanks for watching.